Hello, I'm Jeremy. In the past few days, if you've been watching, I've been going through my plan to how I'm going to get to building the website, what I'm going to be doing on my content channels on YouTube, Facebook. I have a few I've actually put on Facebook. Bitchute and Rumble podcasts. I'm going to get into podcasting too. And podcasting is because I'm already doing the videos. It's exactly the same. You just take out the video and it's just the audio. So then that way whenever people are driving around for any amount of time, they can put it on and listen to it. And yesterday I talked about how I wanted to do a list of topics and do this right over here. That's above my head, creating just these word pads. They're called text-rich documents. Let me see. So if you get on your computer, just on a blank portion of the screen somewhere, you right-click and opens up a window. It goes down to New, and then that opens up a second window, and kind of in the middle, there's this one that I can check called text-rich document. And that's what this is. I'm tired of the lies and the BS with all this stuff, and so, yeah, I thought I want to know the truth. I want the best, most accurate information that we have. So what do you think is the most important problem facing this country today? When was this? Pew Research Center, 2021. I just pulled this up. 18 years or older, roughly 1,000 respondents. It's 3 short. So this is what Pew Research Center came up with. This is mine. And actually, I do want to know about the Pew Research Center. I hear about them, but not the Z research, not the station. Everyone kind of uses them as a go-to. It's like, what is it really? Let's see if I have these. Immigration, check. Race or racism, check. Donald Trump. I do not have people, but we could. Why not? Why not these politicians? Donald Trump, Joe Biden. We'll put politicians. Parties, gridlock, divisions in country. Economy, health care. I don't have health care costs. I have health care. I'll just put costs beside it. I have that with a few things. I have a little more. Unemployment, lack of jobs. Oh, yes. Let's do that. No. Wow, I didn't even get unemployment. But lack of jobs. Yes, I like that. Had unemployment benefits. I have the economy. Don't I have the economy? I may not have the economy. That's kind of really general. Yeah, I don't have the economy. I have things associated with it. Distribution of wealth. No, let's do wealth inequality. Yeah. Education, schools, affordable education. I don't have affordable education, but I have education. And we'll just put that with education. Foreign policy in general. Crime. Yep. Violence. Oh, yeah. We'll do. Where was it? Do I want it together? Do I want crime and violence? I have crime. Don't I have crime? I think I put crime. Yeah. We'll put it up there. Really? Morality, ethics, and family values? Did not know that was... I guess. I mean, they're talking about Trump all the time and his behaviors, so... That sounds good to me. I try to put these in alphabetical order, and for the most part they are. If I've got some of them not in order, I don't give a damn. It doesn't make any difference to me. This is just to help me keep this in some kind of order, so then that way if I need a quick reference, I've got it there. Anyways, we're just going to say morals, ethics, values. Family values fits under values. Gun control, too many guns. I've got gun control. Lack of humanity and respect? What? I've never heard that. I kind of hear the respect thing. Lack of humanity, that's got to be like military and the judicial system and prisons, something along those lines. So, 3%. That's weird. It's higher than environmental and global warming. That makes no sense. I hear about the environment and global warming all the time. Lack of humanity and respect, I don't ever hear that. Dissatisfaction with the government, politics, corruption. Yeah. I don't know if that's necessarily a political issue, but... Defense, national security, yeah, I've got that. So anyways, I counted them all up. I've got over 70. And I found quite a few of them at the democratichub.com/issues. And there's quite a few. I did not put them all down. I just, like, GI Bill, veterans benefits, I don't know if there's any controversy over that. I don't know what it is. What, people think that they shouldn't get it? It's like, that didn't make any sense, I don't think. It's like, I don't know. I mean, what are they trying to do? Does free college make sense? Is that what they have on that? Or is that what they're talking about? Veterans benefits? Yeah, the GI Bill. Does free college make sense? It's like, yeah, it does. I've actually heard that. What was it? It was Jordan Peterson who was talking about this, and that if you don't have an IQ of it's like 83, then the military can't do anything for you. And if you can't do anything in the military, what can you do in the free world? And it's the way for the government to be able to take people who don't have any skills or any opportunities and be able to give them a chance to go out and to get an education so that they can improve their lot in life. And it's like, that's a pretty good goal for the government to have. It's like, yes, it's because, who needs to join the military? Well, enough people to be able to defend your country, of course. And it's better to have them join willingly instead of doing the draft. So does free college make sense? Yes. I mean, what do you want? Do you want to be drafted instead? It's like, no, I don't want that. I don't want the draft at all. I want people to volunteer for it. Should people volunteer for it, though? It's like, no, I don't think you should. Welfare program, North Carolina Republican making 6 figures busted for welfare fraud. Oh, really? Oh, you screw. North Carolina Republican. Oh, you can click on it and you can get more information. Oh, unemployment benefits, unemployment, and then disability. Oh, double whammy right there, huh? Trying to double dip. Yeah, I wasn't even looking at all this. Ryan Paul wants to get rid of Medicare. He's not the only one. Refuting Bernie's destroy American plan meme. Oh man, yeah, man, he's got memes all over the place with that stuff. And it's not like it's not legitimate on some of that crap. So, food stamp program, cost of food stamps. I don't know. I know Trump tried to do that. We're mailing the food to you. And it was because it was something along the lines of, so what happens whenever you have food stamps is people take the food stamps and they either sell them or they go out and they get something for somebody else and then they turn around and they sell it. And one of the biggest things that they do this with is with baby food. Apparently baby food is extraordinarily expensive. So you go out, you buy the baby food, you put it on the market and you sell it for a cheaper price than what you can in the stores, and then you make a profit off of it by selling off your food stamps. It's like, yeah, that's kind of trash. And so how do you kind of prevent for that? Because you want babies to have food, and I guess one of the easiest solutions to stuff like this is that you divide it on down. So if you don't have a baby, then you can't use your food stamps to go out and to buy baby food. So I guess there would have to be like baby food stamps, I guess you could say. So if you have a baby, you could get perhaps additional food stamps specifically for babies, so in that way there aren't all these jackholes out here taking advantage of it. And part of this causes baby food to go up because they know that you can take these food stamps, they get money off of it. Because even if you don't have babies, you can still use your food stamps to buy the baby food, and it kind of creates this racket. And it's like, that's horrible. You know, what about the people who don't have food stamps but they have babies and they need to be able to pay for the baby food? It's like you're screwing them. Anyways, back to it. And so I said if I wanted to do a topic once a day for 5 days out of the week, Monday through Friday, that's 5 days a week, and there's roughly 4 weeks in every single month, that's 20 issues for 6 months. It's 120 issues. I'm not even hitting triple digits here. I counted it up and it was 73. I think I just added a few more right there. But I think this is enough. That this is not set in stone. I can add to it. And so the issues that we're going to be talking about, maybe, because these aren't a guarantee that all these are going to get hit either, and some of these could also be broken up. Maybe it's too large and it needs to be more specific. But this will give you a general idea of kind of what we're looking at. So it's not just ideas either. It's organizations and just kind of anything related to governments and politics. So I'm just going to read through these. They're in rough alphabetical order. So we start off with abortions, big data, BLM, Black Lives Matter, capitalism, charter schools, voucher programs, and I actually know damn near all of these things to some degree. So, you know, abortion's pro-life or pro-choice, and my stance is kind of in the middle. Big data, it's like, yeah, that's absolutely wrong. It's where like Facebook takes your information and they bring it all together and they make a profile out of it, then they sell it to advertising companies so they can do direct marketing campaigns against you. It's like, in a way, that's really good because if it's stuff that you want, then it's getting you the stuff that you need. But sometimes, you know, it's kind of like, well, I really like this stuff, but I don't need it now, and you're shoving it down my throat all the time. It's like, I don't want that either, you know. Black Lives Matters. It's like, well, what are you talking about? There's actually 5 different organizations. There's the original legitimate one that is in California, and they're actually what the name says. And then the others are all knockoffs, and they're like communistic in nature. And you can say that Antifa is kind of one of them in there. So there's like 4 or 5 of them. Capitalism. Communism, I'll actually probably have to put that one in a different one, but we'll put it there. Charter schools and the voucher programs. They're two separate things. I might have to do two videos on them, but I kind of like voucher programs better because that's where you get a voucher. You get a voucher, a certificate, and you can turn that certificate, that voucher, into wherever it is that your kid is getting educated, and then they can turn that voucher in for money. So that's like anywhere. So if they're getting homeschooled and you're homeschooling your child, then you can turn that voucher into yourself. And the way that you regulate that to keep it from being abused is that the student has to go in and be able to complete a test that's assigned by the state. So then that way they can graduate to the next level. If they're unable of doing that, then you would be denied from being able to homeschool your child yourself. You would have to pursue some kind of other method. But if you're able to do it and your kid takes the test and they pass, it's like, well, why not? You know, maybe there are people who are in need of money and that's something that they would like to do. I don't know. So, something along those lines. So I'm kind of more in favor of that. And then that way it also makes schools have to compete with each other. So then that way you're not getting like these incredibly low standards all over the place, which is something that happens. Climate change. Yeah, there's stuff about Jordan Peterson where he talks about how he's on the UN of, was it the UN or was it NATO? It was the UN. He was on a climate change council thing, and they had all of these people, and climate wasn't on it at all. It was raising everybody's standard of living, because whenever you do that, then people become more aware and concerned about their environment and cleaning things up. And if you lifted all these people out of poverty, I mean, there's billions of people who are in poverty. How many of them are just absolutely brilliant? So what are all the great, wonderful things that they could come up with to actually make the world better permanently? Yeah, it's not going to be all your problems are going to be solved, but if you can make some things better, it's like, great. Crime and violence, and it's like, well, that's talking about the Gini coefficient, and that's whenever you have two groups of people who have wealth inequality, and so that's like whenever you have millionaires and next door to them are people who are in poverty, where they don't have a job or something like that. Crime skyrockets. But it's not poverty. So whenever you have rich people next to rich people, there's no problem. Whenever you have middle class next to middle class, there's no problem. Whenever you have poor next to poor, there's no problem. It's whenever you have, the more of a difference there is, the greater it becomes with the rich and the poor, the more and more violence you get. And so you can calculate that. That is such a big thing that they can actually calculate it, and you can see it between neighborhoods, cities, counties, states, and countries. Copyright, yeah, that is a whole separate thing that, yeah, I'm not going to say anything on that right now. Corporate taxes and trickle-down economics, it's all kind of crap. It's like, should corporate taxes be a thing? To an extent, I think corporations should be extremely hard to be able to get going. I think that especially if a community is able to produce something in its area, there's no way that outside forces should be able to come in and to be able to easily get into the market. I think it should be something that should be extremely difficult, but because of the government and regulations and all the red tape and the legal advice that you need, that it really hinders small businesses, and also whenever you have things like minimum wage. Corruption, yeah, I mean, all the money laundering that goes on with politicians and their constituents, the courts. Man, I saw this one where this black kid killed someone whenever, I don't even think they were in double digits yet, or maybe they were 12. They were young. And this kid, he was like, he was in juvie or prison or something like that, and they said, don't bother, you can't get your education because you're never getting out. Apparently whatever he did was pretty bad. And he was like, I'm sorry, I was young, I had horrible influences around me, I really don't want to be here. He went ahead, he went and he got his GED anyways, and he's like, I'm trying and I'm working really hard. And I tell you what, that trash judge said, you're doing absolutely everything that the system would want and then more. But to just hand you over and just to give you the keys to the city is wrong. It's like, you sorry sack of trash. It's like the whole purpose of the judicial system is to have people to do their time, to pay their time, pay for the crime, and to rehabilitate them back into society. That is the goal. That is the goal. Is to bring people back as productive members of society, not to keep them locked away for the rest of their damn lives. If you can reform the person, then do it. This was some poor black kid where they were young and it had been years. He was like, yeah, I know it's stupid. I don't want to be here. I'm trying to show it. And it's like, yes, murder was absolutely horrid, but kids are stupid. He was absolutely a child. He was in school. It wasn't like this was someone in their 20s. It's like, yes, give him, you can give him one chance. There's one chance. You're not going to know until you actually give him a chance. It's just trash. And then the whole thing with the prison system and it being $1 billion industry and private prisons, it's like, what are you talking about? COVID and the masks and all this, it's like, get the hell out of here. Culture where people, people want to say some cultures are better than others, and it's like, yeah, I got something for all that. Defund the police. Actually saw something like that with Tim Pool talking about how with defunding the police in these cities where they've done it, that murder has skyrocketed. But I'll also throw it back in his face a little bit. They don't tell. It was Portland or Seattle, and it had gone up by 800%. It's like, that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean anything. If it was just one murder and then it goes up to 100, well, that's what, 100% increase or whatever. But it's like 100 murders in a place like Seattle. It's what was it originally and what is it now? Because in Seattle it might have been non-existent, and now it's gone up by 800%. But maybe it's on level with other cities of its size. I don't know. Just saying it's gone up 800%. I mean, I guess that's kind of okay, because they were also saying the same thing with all these other cities that were defunding the police. But there needed to be a little bit more information in that. That wasn't quite as clear. Discrimination. It's like everybody discriminates. You discriminate against who your sexual partners are, for example. You discriminate with who you hang out with. You can't hang out with every single person in the world. You got to pick and choose, and so you discriminate against people who do not have the same interests that you do, or enjoy the same kind of music or style of dress or whatever. Education affordable, yeah, and you can go back into the charter schools and voucher programs. So, those will probably all be separate in a way, but also tied together. Energy, you're talking about coal and oil and all that stuff, and I think I actually have that somewhere later down the road. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Oh, I've got fallacies mixed in with that. Fallacy should be above it. I don't care. I'm not going to fix it. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Those are those two horrible pieces of trash institutions that control and regulate mortgages. It's because of those. That corruption and that malpractice and every single horrible corrupt word that you can think of. That's what's going on with them, and setting the interest rates for all that. It's trash. It's pretty simple. Well, what it takes to build a house in the mountains, in the Rockies, and in the forest is different than going to be out in the plains. It's going to be different if you're in the city, where it's easy access, versus out in the country. If you're living in the desert, if you're living in a forest, it's all different. So setting one flat rate for everyone everywhere, it's like, no, it's ridiculous. That's why with some places the cost of living is extremely expensive, and other places it's extremely underpriced, and it's like you can't regulate that because there's just way too many variables. The Federal Reserve and the banking institutions, got some comments on that. Feminism, it's like, yeah, first wave feminism was really good. Second wave, it starts to go down a little bit. Third wave is complete trash, and they can all go jump off a bridge. FHA, that's more about mortgages, and it's like it's the same kind of argument. They need to leave it alone and let it be resolved at the lowest levels possible. Food stamps, didn't we talk about that one? Yeah, and the baby food stamps. Oh, so here it is. Fossil fuels. So energy. This would be part of it. Fossil fuels, which would be fracking, gasoline, offshore drilling, and nuclear. I guess nuclear is not fossil fuels, but it's the same. It's energy. Free trade. That's been coming up a lot because of China, and should we have free trade with them? And there's good arguments for free trade, and there's actually good arguments against free trade. It kind of goes both ways, and I think it'll be clear to understand what's what if you get into more specifics. Freedom of speech, and it should also be, all the freedoms in the Constitution. But whenever I see freedom of speech, that's just a dead set reminder for me for the rest of it. Funding and research. So this is one of the problems with corruption, is that a majority of the funding that goes towards research, the funding comes from the government. And who's in control of the government? The politicians. And so if you're not producing research that's aligned with their political ideology, you're not going to get funding. It's like, no, that's crap. I want to know what the truth is. I don't want rigged research. Gambling, gay rights, marriage, adoption, military. I'm going to start just reading through these. How far am I into this? 26 minutes already. The gender pay gap, which I've got plenty to say on that. Global warming, yep, that's trash. The gold standard, I know. So what that is, that's in Fort Knox. They've got all this gold here, and it's what the American dollar is supposed to be backed by. You're literally supposed to be able to take an American dollar, because what it is, what a dollar is that this is a promissory note, and it's promising that you can go to Fort Knox and you can turn this in and get $1 worth of gold, or $5 or whatever it is. Of course, you can't do that, but that's the reasoning behind all of this. Gun control, it's like, yes, gun control, I think is just a complete and utter failure. Maybe it's not, but again, I'm not trying to change anyone's mind, but I know a good deal about this. And of course, all of you, if you have anything to add to it, by all means, man, I want to hear it all. I don't care. Whatever the truth is, I want to know what it is. Hate crimes, which seems, to me, is just absolute garbage. Hate crimes. I was unaware that there were love crimes. Oh, I committed this crime because I loved you or I loved them. No, aren't all crimes hate? What the hell are you talking about? It's just politicians just doing nonsense. Healthcare costs, keeping healthcare and that can go back into capitalism and the free market. High-speed rails. It's like high-speed rails. There's good and bad, and I tell you what, we have done a horrible job over here in the U.S., but whenever you go over to Japan, it's like they've done a fantastic job with it. Immigration, of course, we know all about immigration and the migrant crisis that's going on, and it's like, no, you just don't bring people in to bring people in. You actually need to vet them, and they need to go through the process as much as possible. It's ridiculous that there are people who will spend a lot of money, and they'll get an education to learn about the American system of law and our economics and just how we do things with our custom cultures and traditions, and they're like, yeah, we want to do it and we want to do it right. It's great. Inflation and deflation, internet neutrality, and it's like they brought that on and they made a big deal out of it, and now it's gone again. And you know what's happened? Absolutely nothing. All that fear mongering that they all talked about, it's like it's not there. There was nothing to be fearful of. And it's like how short-minded people were, because it wasn't like this was something that went on for like 10 years. It was like 4 years or something like that. It was incredibly short. It's like, how do you not remember back 4 years ago? What the hell is wrong with you? Well, what do you think? It's not like the internet just went up in flames until this came along. And whenever they got rid of it, you know what happened? Absolutely nothing. So, or at least that's my understanding of it as of right now. I haven't looked into it for a while, so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is just trash. So, mass shootings, it's like, well, yes, gun control doesn't fix mass shootings. I want to know what's going on with those people. And I think one of the things is that a lot of them are actually on some kind of medication that affects their brain up there in one way or another. Medicare and Medicaid, it's basically going to hospitals and doctors and the medicine. So they have them divided into two different things. And then morals, ethics, and values. I did not know that was such a thing. I'm glad to see that it's there. I think people are confused a little bit with it. A lot, actually. Minimum wage is complete and utter trash. I think. I don't see why it should be there. I've made a few videos about that. The military and defense. Yes, I believe really strongly and heavily in that. I have plenty to say on it. Again, I want to hear from all of you too. I want to make sure that I have all the information. NATO, it's like, yeah, I was part of NATO. That's what that is right there. That's NATO. I was in I4. It was the implementation force, that blue flag right there. Those were all the other countries that were involved. The Pew Research Center, are they actually a credible place? Why or why not? Police abuse / brutality. It's like, yes, it's just like whenever I was in the military, just because I went through military training, that didn't make people good people. There were still plenty of soldiers who were there, and they were just absolute garbage. So same thing with the police. Just because you go through the police academy, that doesn't mean that you're just some kind of magic saint now. Politicians and their accountability. Poverty, that goes back to that Gini coefficient. Prisons and the billion-dollar prison system, and it's become more, I think, of a business economic force instead of reform like it should be. So I'm not for keeping people in prison their entire lives. I mean, there are some. I mean, those people who were in high security. So, in case if you're unaware, I was an officer out at a level 5 maximum security prison. I was a CO step 3, and it was like, yes, there are some people who absolutely need to stay locked behind doors for their entire life. But the overwhelming majority of people who are in prison, it's like, hell no, get them out of there. You know, enough's enough. Recycling, I don't know why recycling should be a government issue. It's like, of course, people want it, but just because you want it doesn't mean that it's something that can be done right now. It takes just more innovation and technology so we can do it even better. Regulations in general. So it's renewable energy. So this would be biofuels, geothermal, hydro, solar, wind, and nuclear, I think would go in there. And then rights, right to bear arms, right to privacy. I was talking about freedom of speech before. Section 8 housing, that is HUD. I am against this. I'm against welfare. Not that I'm for restructuring it. The separation of church and state, is that a good or a bad thing? I think that it is, but I could be wrong. Maybe they should go more hand in hand, or maybe something with values and morals in the state, maybe yes, but different. Sex education, well, that depends on what you're talking about. If you're talking about elementary school kids, hell no. If you're talking about high school kids, it's kind of like, yeah, I think so, because whenever I was in high school, kids were, even I knew kids in junior high and in elementary school who were also doing it. So it depends on what it is. So if you do have kids and you're wondering, when do you talk to your kids about sex? One of the things that I heard that made just a great amount of sense was that with any issue, no matter what it is, you always need to talk about it when they learn to ask the question. Because if you don't answer that question, where they're going to keep asking, and you're just rolling the dice, hoping that the person that they ask who answers is going to be a good person. So you always answer the questions that they have. The difference is that you don't talk to them like they're some damn adult. You talk to them as children. So you don't go into some kind of graphic novel with some little kid about sex. You put it real simple. You talk about the birds and the bees or the stork or something like that. You don't describe something that you would see on Pornhub. It's ridiculous. And then as they get older and they learn more, then you start filling in more of the gaps, and you continue on with their education. It's just like you don't go to school and you learn how to do calculus. No, you start off with something simple. 1 + 1 = 2, duh. And then throughout your career in education, you get more and more advanced. Exact same thing with sex ed. This isn't hard at all. Social Security. Social Security specifically is putting money aside from your paycheck to help you with retirement, and it's like, should the government be doing that? Maybe a little bit. I think, though, you should have an incredible amount of control over it, though. stem cell research. It looks like stem cell is actually doing really great, that there's a lot of good things that are going on with it, but you can't seem to do any of it here, that you have to leave the country. And that is one of the things that the Trump administration did with some of this stuff. So one of the things that Trump passed pretty early on in his administration was the Right to Try Act. And this was, if you are being labeled as terminally ill, so in other words, you're going to die, nothing's going to stop it, then go ahead and try anything that you want. Because why should you be worried if it's going to kill you? You're going to die anyways. So might as well go out in a blaze of glory and help the advancement of science and research. That sounds great to me. I had a family member who came down with cancer and died right before he did that. And there were things that they wanted to do, but they couldn't do it in America because they were like, well, it could kill you. It's like, he's going to die anyways. He has cancer. And he died right before he passed that. So, where was I? Stem cell research. Student loans. Should student loans be paid off? No. But also, right underneath that, subsidizing student loans and academia should not be going on, and subsidizing farmers with their crops and all that stuff. It's like, no, the government has no business being a part of any of that. And Thomas Sowell has a really good book. I forget what the name is it, but he talks about this, and he talks about it in contrast to the Soviet Union and how they tried to price everything, and everything was always wrong. And the leaders came over here, and they were just dumbfounded about how everybody got fed without having to price everything. And it's like, well, because we just take care of it automatically through the economy, and that does all the pricing because it's just too complex. And they had millions and millions of prices that they were trying to regulate, and you couldn't do it because it's also, well, this affects several different other things. So it's like, okay, well, you take cow for the beef, and then you take the leather, and he talks about baseball gloves, and then, well, then that means that it's going to mean other things like clothing that's made out of leather is going to be more expensive. So how do you sort all that out? Because it's not like one of these things is just one thing alone. It's several different things. How many things can you use to make leather out of, for example? It's like, okay, so how do you distribute all that? You can't. That's why they failed at it, and that's why all these countries are stepping away from this communism. I'm going to dictate every single little thing to, it's like, well, maybe I just need to back on off and let people figure this out. Is it perfect? No. But it's a billion times better than communism. And then tax shelters. Oh, yeah. If you don't want to pay your taxes, you put up a shell company somewhere and you transfer your money over there. So it's like you put it up in a place where they don't have any kind of taxes. You transfer your money over to the shell company because you say that these shell companies are providing services for your legitimate kind of company. And so whenever the money gets transferred over there, then you cash it all out. You don't have to pay the taxes, and then everybody gets paid. Teachers unions, yeah, I know all about that. I've got a cousin who was a principal for a while, and he has nothing but horror stories about teachers unions. Terrorism, it's like, yeah, how many times have we claimed something as terrorism just so we could interfere with it over there? And then people want to use terrorism just so loosely with everything. The left likes to claim everything as a terroristic act that the right does. The Constitution, I think that's really good to know. I think they've kind of really got it down in the Bill of Rights. And the Declaration of Independence. TSA is a big joke. I just made a video today talking about, what was that? Epstein's guards there with sticks and hammer, and the Social Security Office and the DMV, and how these are just, these aren't people who are working these jobs who went to Harvard or Yale. They're high school graduates, and that's about it. So their performances and what they're supposed to do and what they actually do, they're not even close. The U.S. debt and deficits, and how does that, and that kind of go back into inflation a little bit, unemployment and the lack of jobs. It's like, yes, because you have a lack of jobs whenever you're trying to regulate all this stuff to an oblivion. Unemployment benefits, again, which would be welfare. So quite a few of these are kind of duplicates, but it's okay. A lot of these can also be broken down into sub issues or whatever. And then unions, teachers' unions would fit under that, but we could also go on to still unions, and just you could have every union underneath there. Virtue signaling, voting certification, the war on drugs, wealth inequality, welfare programs all together. So yeah, there's plenty, and so this didn't even go into people. This did not talk about politicians at all. And there's plenty of politicians. And so, talk about Dr. Steve Turley, talk about Sticks and Hammer, Tim Pool, Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Mitch McConnell, Rubio, Cruz, AOC. It's not going to be a problem, I think, to get up to 120. And some of these, there might be enough information where you could just stay on it for 2 or 3 days trying to fill all this stuff out. In fact, I would be surprised if all of them didn't fit in that category. That's because how many people research this and talk about this, how many politicians are running off of these. It's like obviously quite a few. And yeah, I want to know about all this stuff. I'm tired of the circles. I'm tired of the lies. The information should be in. We should know better with all of this stuff as to what really works and what doesn't. It's like communism and capitalism. It's like it's been going on for decades. The information is there. This should not be a debate anymore. The data should show. And yeah, from my understanding, it shows capitalism. Hands down. It's like overwhelmingly capitalism is just blowing communism out of the water. And if you think otherwise, then where's your proof? Do not tell me that you know it's right. Show me. If you can't show me, then shut up. If you can't show me, hey, yeah, I want to know. But that's where we're at. What is today? Today's Wednesday, so tomorrow's Thursday. I don't know if I'll get started on all of this week. That might be a good place to start up on Friday because I have other things. I have the rest of my life that I'm trying to also get things taken care of so that I'm as free as possible so I can sit down and do this with as much gumption as I can. And then I'm scheduling out Monday through Friday and Saturday and Sunday, and then try to work within those confines, kind of thing. So, anyways, if you too are interested in the truth, no matter where it comes, whether if it's from the left or the right, that you just want to know the truth, that you don't want to waste your time listening to all this drivel, all of this novelization and fluff talk garbage that they all do. And it's like, I just want to know. I got other things I'd rather be doing. And help me out. Hit subscribe. Thumbs up the video. Like it. I have Patreon and Subscribe Star. Anything that you can do. It's real easy to hit the thumbs up. You can change your mind with all this. I would appreciate it a lot. So thanks a lot for watching. And we'll see you again next time. Bye.